us to forever have to pay this fee.
On top of having the liability insurance, which we already had. I've always had that. I've had Staffordshire Terriers, I've had Cocker Spaniels, I've had Beagles, and even a little hot dog. And I've always had insurance on every breed, not just my aggressive, temperamental, stereotype breed dogs. When I get a new dog, I've had several roommates since 2009 when I lived there. I've had St. Bernards, Cocker Spaniels, I've had 4 pit bulls, and a cane corso lived there. I've always had our trainer, Jenna, come over, and we've always properly introduced, exercised prior, introduced on mutual ground the dogs. We know how to properly socialize them to unfamiliar dogs. In this incident, we weren't there. If I would have been home, opened the door, called Ruckus back, he would have came and listened. Not a stressful situation. My sister just had surgery. Mr. Wilhelm, of course, was scared. Both dogs sensed that. We are properly trained. The humans are the ones that have to be trained to control and correct the animal. That's what dog training is about. It's working with the humans. Yes, you're working with the dog a little bit, but the humans have to know how to properly handle the dogs. And my sister may be just having surgery. And she also has a little bit of brain damage from chemo treatment, panicked in the situation and did not know what to do or how to retrieve him without letting the girls out of the gate.
Really, we're just asking for, opportunity to, if we need to put a cable or something and nothing permanent because we are moving, fine. But, we've showed our cooperation. We've spent a lot of money to get our dogs home as soon as possible because they are very stressed out when they're here. And we're making every effort to comply. We're just asking because we were not there to control them. So what we can do, future, we can either board them or we put them with, someone that has a little more training like Jenna or somewhere, our dog trainer, that they can stay with.
And I've ordered the collars from Sit Mean Sit. They're anti-bark, and we are going to socialize them. I'm waiting for the new order from my psychiatrist. And Brandon Nielsen of Sit Mean Sit out in Idaho, he is going to try and work with one of the franchises here so that we don't have to pay the extensive fee. Obviously, we've encompassed a lot of monetary funding for this, to try and work with us in our health insurance to get the training for the dogs at a reduced cost. It's like $2,000 for their training package, and it's lifetime. So as much as we need to take the dog back or have questions or do seminars, or if they have these 3 points of whatever concern down, but they need help with something else, we don't have to pay to come back. It's lifetime.
I just wanted to address one of the items you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the license fee goes, that's something that only applies really while you're in Anne Arundel County. I don't know what license fees are going to be in other jurisdictions, but this order is an Anne Arundel County order.
And I understand, and we paid both fees because we have our dogs back. Like I said, we complied in full.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't complain, maybe to ourselves, but everything that Officer Beckner said we had to do, we complied with, okay? I just don't want, and I don't want a stigma actually on my dog because my dog is not a mean dog. I don't want to have to walk my dog with a muzzle and people be scared of her because she's not a mean dog, especially if we're going through the motions to have them trained as service dogs. I don't think that's fair to them because it was a situational incident. They've never gone after anyone or any other animal. Like I said, we walk them all the time. They come in contact with other people they don't know all the time. They'll sit and let you pet them. And I'm sure you can ask the folks at Animal Control. They weren't rowdy or aggressive in their care. They listen.
They were shedding.
So it was a very unfortunate situation, and it was just about how it all played out. The gate was left open. It was a tense situation. The dog sensed that. We weren't there to manage it. So we're asking.
And it would not have happened because I know not to leave the dogs unattended when they're outside. My sister let them out and went back to do whatever in the living room. I don't leave the kitchen area or like the deck area. I'm usually right there making coffee, walking outside with the dogs, drinking my coffee, or I go out back with them.
Because we understand they'll be outside playing, wrestling, and they bark sometimes. They're dogs. That's what they do. But we understand that neighbors don't like to hear dogs bark all the time. So hey, we'll be out there with them. We'll call them back in. Yeah, and so we're trying to find a middle ground maybe to just identify manage the problem. Okay, he jumped the fence. Let's put him on a cable. They're not aggressive or mean dogs.
And they have not been unattended, so they have not been in this habitat that
Yes.
is taking up our backyard. It's a 10 by 20, 6 foot tall, and it's fully enclosed, and they're running around it rather than being able to run through the length of our yard. It's actually decreased their exercise area.
Yeah,
Mr. Linder,
yes, ma'am.
is Ruckus a male?
He is.
Has he been neutered?
He
At
has.
5 months and 1 day
Memphis,
She's
Yes.
spayed as well.
she's spayed.
Yes, ma'am.
in November.
Oh, and Nala, the deceased dog?
She-
Okay,
mhm.
who was she bred to?
Who was she bred to?
I mean, she was pregnant.
Yes, she was bred to Zeus from Baltimore Iron Giants.
Yes.
So you went ahead and had her bred out. So you
Yes.
took her to be bred.
Yes.
Correct.
And that would have given you 3 pit bulls on the premises at one time with a litter of 10 puppies coming in,
6
right?
puppies.
6 puppies, and they were all already homed.
And Ruckus is a mix.
He's a lab.
Okay, so it would have been 9. You have to keep the puppies until they're 8
Right,
weeks
correct. Yep.
or older. So that would have meant 9
Mhm.
pit bulls, 1 mixed on your premises at one time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
We had 9
question.
Hmm?
We've had several before. I'm an animal lover, and it could be German Shepherd, Rottweiler, whatever. People were always like, we need homes. I'm always rehoming dogs. I'm always bringing home dogs that I find. And we interact with our dogs, and I always ask the people, so they don't end them at the shelter, do you have kids? Do you have a fence? Do you have other dogs that are good around dogs, cats, kids? And if I know where this dog is coming from, I do a screening. Is this dog coming in good with cats, kids, other dogs? And what do the people know about it? So my dogs are constantly meeting new dogs, but it's controlled. We know how to socialize and integrate them.
Well, I'm just going back to what your husband said about you were more concerned about people stealing your dogs because of the value.
Right,
How much would you have valued your puppies for?
$1,200
$1,200.
each.
That's both female and male.
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
So
And-
$1,200 each.
And the stud fee was $1,000.
Okay.
I have a question, Nancy.
Yes.
You guys basically said that, you're not using the kennel and stuff like that, and the dogs are getting exercise, running around and stuff. I mean, are they leashed and muzzled when you have them out?
No?
Not
They're-
when we're in the yard with them.
Not when we're in our yard with them.
Okay, that's a violation of the order, right?
No, ma'am, I don't. It says when,
They're unattended.
the way I read it, please correct me if I'm wrong, to reduce the possibility of your animal having access to the public when outside unattended, you must build a secured 6-foot stockade fence, solid fence, and ensure that any gates accessing the secured fenced area be locked with a padlock to prevent opening from the outside.
Okay.
So that's,
Let me
uh,
address number 4. Okay, basically Memphis and Ruckus shall not be taken out of the house or fenced or kennel unless there's restraint on a 6-foot leash and a muzzle on a controlled responsible person 18 years of age or older. So basically advises you that if the animals are, out of the house, fence, or the kennel and stuff, they must be leashed and muzzled.
So how can we play ball with them? We're
Or how
on
can
tennis
they,
balls.
that's
understand.
like,
When you have a
say,
stockade fence.
say again, ma'am?
I said a stockade fence.
Right, and we-
allows you to play ball or frisbee
We're
or.
working on that.
But we're moving.
And not only that, we can't build it because of the erosion, and the landscapers already came out. It's a $4,500 job, and we have to call the county actually for our neighbor whose fence is pushing back in our yard, and his land is eroding. we have to get it all corrected before we actually have the fence built. And if we're moving,
Do you have orders yet?
I do,
Where are you going?
Fort Bragg.
Okay.
I'd just like to look at something real quick, if I may.
The only thing, like I said, what we're concerned about, understanding the circumstances and stuff, is that I'm not necessarily saying that the dogs are aggressive towards humans. Obviously, we have some issues with dog aggression. It acted like a domino effect. You know, our concerns is, you know, Ruckus knows how to climb a fence. He's done it before. We have actually tickets that were issued to Michelle Linderborn a long time ago. She did not appear at court. They were upheld for running at large. And I actually have that paperwork if you need to see it. You know, the only thing, like I said, we're concerned about is that we think that, you know, the orders are fair. I have dogs that repeat all the time. So, I mean, this is not only a protection for the public, but this is also protection for the Linderborns. I understand they're moving. This order pretty much can, you know, we have, it states in the state law that we have to contact the person that's going in, okay, unfortunately. What they do in another situation or another state or another county is fine, okay? Like I said, I'm not stating that the animals are aggressive towards humans. You know, animals can be animal aggressive, and it is concerning, and understanding that they want to try to, you know, get these dogs as therapy dogs. Well, keep in mind is that, you know, one of the things is for certification, you can't have this. They'll deny you 100%.
That's why we're trying to have it removed.
So it's understanding that, you know, with the fact that you have a dog that's animal aggressive, I could care less what kind of breed of dog you have. All dogs have the propensity to kill another animal. The fortunately is that this happened. We had all 3 dogs that were involved. Fortunately, one dog is deceased. You know, and then they basically had a dog that was severely injured. Could it happen again? Absolutely. Animal control does not, under any circumstances, like using cables, okay, because for a reason the dogs can break them. You know, I think this was more than fair enough the way this, you know, planned out, the way animal control based upon the law and the county law. What we have is that this was fair enough, and that's why we went through the orders.
But doesn't the law or code say, and I couldn't find it verbatim, and I don't want to waste anybody's time, when a dog is left outside, it needs to be, you know, in a shelter and have a shelter, it can go in and turn around without hitting its back and have water and food. Am I correct? Basically.
Yeah.
When a dog is left outside, we do not leave our dogs outside. We are outside with them. Minus, except in this case, because we were not there. So
Are you going to be stuck at home until you go to your new duty station?
no, because if my dogs go outside and we run around with them, we're outside with them. But when we leave the house, they stay in the house. They don't leave the house. That's why I said I'm more afraid of somebody stealing my dog than my dog biting someone. Our dogs stay in the house. They're house dogs. They don't go outside. We don't. That's why we don't have dog houses outside, or we didn't until now, because our dogs stay in the house. They have beds in the house. They don't go outside when we're not home.
Right, and the only other reason why, you know, I understand in the circumstances what he's asking about with the muzzle and the leash, you have to keep in mind the reason for that, you know, you guys have had cases that come before you in reference to dogs that are being walked that have the animal aggressive tendencies, and you can wind up having another incident. That's the whole purpose of the muzzle. It's a very humane muzzle. It's just preventing there to be possibly another incident. And I can't say that all the training in the world is, you know, cannot say that another dog will do that again. Because I can tell you this, is that I've had cases where dogs are wearing them, you know, training collars, and they're not leashed and attached to somebody, and they fail to listen to it, and next thing you know, we have another incident. And I don't want to see that happen, and I'm not saying these are, you know, vicious dogs. The only thing is that dogs have a tendency to having animal aggression can cause the domino effect, which you get that pack behavior, you know.
But Officer Beckner, given just going off this incident is the only incident on record, okay?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
You know, the county doesn't
may I
look at it as a
finish,
1,
please?
2, 3 strikes, you're out.
Right, may I finish? No temperament or any other evaluation has been done on our dogs. It's just automatically their dog aggressive, which may not be true. When you guys rehome dogs, don't you put them through a temperament test?
We do.
Oh,
but we're
okay,
not
so
gonna do
our
it
dogs
necessarily
were not
temporary
offered
just with
that
the
opportunity.
dog, you know,
And
dog owned.
again, like we said, I don't want to see anybody or anybody else's dog get hurt. So what if we're walking our dogs
And
and
another
something
dog-
like this happens to our dog and they have a muzzle on?
And
They
they
can't
can't
protect
defend
themselves.
Now, if that dog is leashed and we can properly introduce them, and yes, okay, so everyone has a leash on, we double leash, we put the
If-
regular collar and
If
then
we were
put our dog
irresponsible
collar on.
owners, we would not be here today pleading our case. We're trying, as I've stated in many emails, safety is extremely important. But I don't think everything is exactly fair in this case, I guess.
Well, unfortunately, Mr. Linderborn, fair's got nothing to do with it at this level, okay? What we're commissioned to do is to take in the facts and then execute as best as we can a remedy that's going to protect the public's safety. As
Okay.
Officer Beckner said, there's no 1, 2, 3 strikes in the county, period.
Okay.
We're commissioned today to go ahead and try and come up with some remedy
Agreed.
that's going to prevent this from happening to anybody in the future.
And I, again, as we've complied with everything in this order thus far, we're asking for other methods, for other channels. We're not saying we just wipe the slate clean. We're just looking for another way, if possible. And, again, I don't know if my question was answered. I mean, we lost a dog for someone being overly aggressive when my dog wasn't attacking anyone.
I heard Officer Beckner say the dog had an enlarged heart, and that is a far greater factor than anything that happened in that.
Ma'am, we have vet records for years that our dog has never had any health issues. She was pregnant.
And
You
that's
can-
probably why she had an enlarged heart.
Right. So given the stress of the situation and with a human being choking her and laying on
But the
top
Animal
of
Control
her.
Commission has nothing to do with whether or not charges were pressed
No,
against
and
someone.
it's
So
civil.
it has nothing to do with the Animal Control Commission. The only thing they're here for is the orders at hand for the other two dogs. They don't even know about pressing charges against anyone,
So that has nothing to do with animal control.
not Animal
It's
Animal
not the
Control
commission.
Commission.
Not Animal Control, the Animal Control Commission. That has nothing to do with them.
Okay, so then I guess I can ask after we're completed here who I have to speak to about that, right? Okay, thank you, ma'am.
And just for the record, okay, we basically advised the Linderborns and stuff like that, is that they would have to go through a civil matter, through a civil court,
Which
to
we
basically
will.
take the person that they, want them to charge them in reference to killing their dog, okay? We don't know exactly if that was the reason for the death of the dog. According to Dr. Hamilton, basically she said is that there was nothing crushed in the neck of this dog. That basically, she had a severely enlarged heart, which I have the x-rays, which should be in your files, that basically it was extremely enlarged, so that a heart attack probably, is what killed the dog, okay?
Or being held on to the
We
ground.
can't say that
Well,
because even the doctor even
Officer
said
Beckner,
is
neither
that,
can
I'm not
you.
going to dispute
We
it.
don't need to
We're
talk
done.
about
I'm not
We're
going to
done with
dispute
that.
it.
We're done with this issue.
The dog was involved in an animal attack, 100%. All 3 dogs were involved in an animal attack. It was severe enough. Animal Control issued the order based upon the public safety law and inflicted severe injury to another animal. So Animal Control was more than enough fair in this case in reference to the orders, which we have placed many, many, many times, over and over and over again in reference to cases that are very similar. And we rest on this side. I'm done.
Anybody else have any questions?
One more question. Out of all 3 of them, which one was in charge of the pack? Which was Alpha?
I wouldn't
Has to be
say.
someone, has to be one of them.
Memphis is she was 15 months old, so she's definitely not in charge.
It had
There
to
was
be-
no dominance in the
Not
house.
really. There was-
We are all when kids come in, not one hooks first. But we don't have a dominance.
Yeah,
I'm the
there's really
pack
no
leader.
there's no
If I
dominance
say-
among them within the
Yeah,
house.
if I say down, they're going down. We didn't have a pack leader. We've learned that
We were the
are the
pack
pack
leader.
leaders.
Well, the commission has come to a unanimous decision. We are upholding the order as it stands. We're not making any modifications to it. If you'd like to appeal it, you can appeal it in 30 days to the Board of Appeals. And they may change it or not, to them. Do you have any questions for us?
How long before we receive the paperwork for the appeal?
I don't know. How long does it take for them to?
It doesn't take long. Actually, I'll probably do the letters before I leave, and then Officer Beckner will be in contact with you.
So is it 30 days from when you send it out, or 30
Nope,
days
30
upon
days
receipt?
from today.
Today.
In
So-
order to appeal.
We'll get it done tomorrow.
We'll get it tomorrow?
If it's typed and it gets signed, I can email it to you guys right away.
Okay,
And then that way
sounds
you have
good,
the
'cause
information on where you need to go.
We'll make sure we get it in time. Thank you all for your time. Appreciate it.
Have a good day.